Now, when it comes to starting any new business, there are a lot of questions that one must ask themselves, and the PI industry is no different. Starting up a new business is huge, and I mean a huge endeavor, and can be very taxing, arduous, and difficult. Now, I am not trying to dissuade anybody from getting into the business. In fact, I would encourage you to watch this video in its entirety so you know the questions that you must ask yourself and the challenges that you will encounter while starting up your new private investigations business. I will be going over a list of areas where you need to evaluate yourself as you work through the process of deciding whether you should start up a new PI business, or even if you already have a PI business, should you be in this type of business. Now, there is no pass or fail to these questions. In fact, you may answer negatively to every area that we will discuss, and you may still be able to open a successful PI business. Having gone through these exercises, answering these questions, you will know a lot more about where you need to focus your attention on. Let's first discuss responsibility. How do you handle responsibility? And I'm not just talking about personal responsibility. Of course, that's something to be considered too. Are you known as the master of excuses with your friends? Is your answer to things that don't get done usually something like, well, I planned on getting that done, but this happened? In the responsibility realm, you must first be highly responsible and take the responsibility of your own shortcomings and mistakes. Recognize them and effect a plan to overcome them in the future. Notice, I did not say make a plan, I said effect a plan. This video is sponsored by OREP Insurance and Working PI Magazine. OREP is a leading provider of private investigator liability insurance. Visit orep.org for a quote today. I remember when I was younger, when things went wrong, I usually knew where I fell short of hitting the mark, making my goal, or getting the job done. I also usually made a plan to never, ever, ever do that again. I would scold myself, I would beat myself up, and I would tell myself, never, ever, ever make that mistake again. But that's where it ended. I never put a plan together, and I never put it into action. Now, a good example here would be if you never prepared to sell the job when the customer calls you, and you always find yourself stumbling on your words, fumbling through your papers or your documents on your computer, and you end up giving a poor verbal presentation to the customer, thus never getting the job. You may need to put a plan together that will help you work through all of that. Now the hardest part is over. You have recognized that you have shortcomings, and guess what? We all have shortcomings, even me. Don't think for a minute that I don't have my own issues, but recognizing those shortcomings is sometimes the hugest obstacle to get over. Now in our phone sales example, if I can be completely honest here, folks, that was me. I knew how to sell. I had managed and trained salespeople for years. I had ran many businesses that relied highly on sales techniques. I knew how to do it. I just didn't always put it into practice. All of the things that I needed to do to make myself successful, I needed to do them, but I didn't always do it. What I ended up doing in that situation was making notes for myself. No, not in my notebook. I put those notes all over. I got me some good sticky notes, and I put little reminders on them, and I stuck them to my monitor on my desk. I put them on the wall next to my desk in my office, and I even had them on the dashboard in my car. I got a lot of my calls while I was out working, so having those reminders out in the field helped me immensely. Now, some of those notes were things like, "Thank you for calling Upco Investigations," smiley face. I didn't need my entire phone answering spiel. I just needed to remind myself to start that way and to smile while I answered the phone. Other notes were things like minimum retainer. I had to put minimum retainer in there, so I reminded myself to not take jobs that were below the minimum retainer. You see, in that example, I recognized my shortcomings. Pat on the back. Then I made a plan. Pat on the back number 2. And then I put that plan into play by making and placing my notes. Hey, pat number 3, right? Wait, this is all moot if you don't affect it, folks. Put it into action time and time again. So the 4th, the 5th, and the 100,000th pat on my back was for all of the times that I put these actions into play since then and landed the jobs. Next, let's talk about decision making, folks. Indecision is the killer for many a PI out there, whether it involves business decisions, sales decisions, or decisions out there in the field while you are conducting an investigation. As a new PI business owner, you will have to make many decisions, and sometimes, you know what? You might make the wrong decision. But these things happen, folks, but that's okay because we now know how to recognize, plan, and affect our plan plan to overcome our mistakes in the future, but failing to make decisions with proper process and in a timely manner can be a huge drag on your business. Also, making too many decisions that you don't have to make yourself, micromanaging your business, can drag your business down as well. You, as the leader of your business, must be able to identify what decisions are for you to make and what decisions are for others to make, and then you move on and you get the job done. For example, if you're subcontracting surveillance investigators and then you're deciding where is the best place to set up, what is the best exit route to cover, and decisions like that, they may not be the best ones for you to be making as a general rule. Let the professional that you are hiring make those decisions. Now, it isn't a bad idea to take a good early look at the situation and maybe let them know where there might be a good setup point, what routes they might want to watch, but let them make those final decisions. But you may not even have subcontractors or employees, and you may be micromanaging still, or plain managing some parts of your business that you shouldn't be managing. Your focus, again, should be on the big picture things, getting the sales, working the contracts, making the money. For example, if you are having your website rebuilt and you are constantly asking for updates, reviewing little bitty things like the font sizes, where the phone number goes on the page, things like that, what pictures to use, then you may be expending energies and time that is better spent somewhere else in your business as well. In this case, you may not have the right company helping you with your website design if you cannot give them the big picture view, some simple instructions, and let them work their magic and then critique the work afterwards and make minor adjustments. Emotional swings is something else you must consider when looking to become a private investigator entrepreneur. You need to be able to maintain an even keel on many levels. If clients go off on you, and they very well may on occasion, if your subs don't do what you hoped for or what you anticipated, when things just plain go topsy-turvy in the business, you need to be able to maintain your composure. Things to watch for within yourself is constant swings in emotion. One moment, you're very optimistic, then the next, you are very depressed with the situation that happen. Minor setbacks will occur, folks, on practically a daily basis in any business. You need to keep your emotions in check if you're going to be successful out there in the field. Completing the task at hand is huge for success in the PI world. If you have a track record of not completing things, if you have 28 unfinished projects on your desk, then this will most likely leak over into your business. If this is you, then go back to step one. Get a plan together and affect that plan to complete projects. For those that suffer with this, and I was once one of those people, I suggest that you get those projects completed. Get them checked off of your list. Start a track record of success for completing your tasks at hand and the jobs, no matter how unpleasant. Then you will be able to formulate good future plans to get the jobs done. One thing that I like to do, or perhaps I hate to do, but I still make myself do it anyway, is I do the most unpleasant, the most arduous, and the most difficult tasks first. I don't start off with a list of 100 things to do, with the first 20 being the simple, easy things so I can feel good and feel like I accomplished something. I start with the hardest things first, then I work my way down that list. Then at the end of the day, it's easy for me to finish up those 20 easy jobs because they're the simple ones to get done. Now, obviously, with that, there will be some orderly prioritization too. I may not be able to get to the hardest thing done first unless I get some other things done before that, but I make that list so I can tackle those harder things as quickly as possible. Personal support systems is another thing that you must have, folks. You need to have folks involved in your life that support what you are doing. If everybody in your life is highly skeptical and negative about your endeavors to become a private investigator, it will hinder your efforts, to be sure. I know when I got started, my wife was the biggest champion and still is today for me in my business. There was a lot of questions with no answers, to be sure. I went many days wondering if I would have to work that day, that week, or even that month. But I got up every day and I went to the office and I did a lot of those tough things to get work in the door. Make sure you have that support system in place, family, friends, or even a life or business coach. Being stuck in the old ways, always doing what is familiar, and having that mindset of that's the way we always did it is another huge stumbling block to watch out for. The world of business is a-changing, folks. There are huge dynamic shifts in service demand out there, and technology is always changing as well. If you are stuck with what you know is always best, if you are always comfortable with what you're comfortable with, then your business is bound to suffer because of it. In this ever-changing business world, you must be able to let go of the familiar You must be able to work with the new things from an objective viewpoint. New opportunities to improve your business will arise, and you need to be able to evaluate and make decisions as to whether or not it is something that you need to pursue. Some may need pursued. Some may just inspire you for new ways of doing business and new ways of thinking. Not keeping your word can be a huge problem as well in the PI world, or for any business for that matter. Honesty is fundamental in the industry as well in business and personal lives. You must be able to be honest and meet your obligations that you promise to your clients and your customers, or you will not be in business for very long. Simple and easy to follow rules to help you here. Don't make promises you can't keep. Don't offer services you can't follow through with. And put a system in place that will help you be organized with all of that. That leads us right into disorganization. If you are chronically disorganized like I am, this can create some issues for your business. I have a fairly simple system in place to help me in this area. I try to keep everything as electronic as possible so the mounds of paperwork do not become overwhelming to me. I know I can get overwhelmed if my desk gets too cluttered and I have no idea where anything is. So having a place for everything, electronic if possible, helps me stay organized. You must know your limitations and be able to set your own limits. It is very appealing to be your own boss. It is very appealing to be the one making all the decisions. It is very nice living independently and living without limits. But those no-limit moments, folks, is what can sink your business fairly quickly. You need to be able to identify your weaknesses, set rules, processes, and procedures in place for yourself that will help you stay disciplined. Then there is the money factor to talk about, folks. If money is your only motivation for opening a PI business, then you may be sorely disappointed. I'm not saying you can't make a good income over time being a private investigator. I know you can. You have what it takes to be successful. In fact, I know if you are watching this video right now at this late point, you definitely have the desire and the drive to make it work. However, if money is your only motivating factor, then you may be better off seeking a different career path. There is so much more to being a good PI that involves assisting your clients, seeking justice, working for the betterment of the legal process. You need to make sure that you have good intentions and good motivations that will help drive you hour after hour, day after day, week after week, month after month, and year after year. Otherwise, it is just a paycheck, and you can get a paycheck just about anywhere.